So I recently picked up this camera, and this camera was pretty pricey. It was $400, and I also picked up another Logitech camera that's $1,000, and I was gonna compare them. But first, I'm unboxing this one, and I was really like interested in this one because it's one of the moving cameras, so you get a controller and you could like move it around and zoom. And I thought it was a following camera, like the one that follows your face, but it wasn't. So in the box it comes with like a tray, and at the bottom you get a stand for the camera that I don't use, but you can if you want. And then here is a diagram like showing how to plug it in, and the camera is plug and play, but there is a driver, and that driver is like really important to make the camera look good, because if not it'll look kind of bad without the driver, because the colors will be overexposed, and I'll show that later on in the video. But we'll start with the stand. The stand is metal, and it comes with screws. Next we'll get to the main parts, or cables and things like that. And then here is the cables, power adapter, the controller, and the actual camera itself. And the camera is actually pretty heavy. Well, at least the camera, the base isn't really that heavy. So we'll start with the camera first. And when I was surprised that it was this small, because I expected it to be a lot bigger, and it only had one port on the back. And it came with a cover on the lens that I'll take off later. Next is the remote to move the camera, since it could move, and to zoom the camera in and out. And there are also other features that I will talk about later. And the remote it feels pretty cheap, but I mean, it does what a remote is supposed to do. Next is the power adapter to power the camera. And it doesn't come with a plug on there, because they have lots of plug type connectors that I'll show right now. Next is the cables and plug connectors. And I have no idea what this is, but I'll just leave it there. So here are the cables, which is from the camera to your computer, and also the power cable is also attached to it. And here are the power plugs, and they added plugs for lots of places. I'm using the standard, and you could just like swap them out depending on where you live. And it comes with a manual, but using the camera is pretty straightforward. Here I'm showing the camera's like boot sequence, and it just like moves all around when you first plug it in and power it on. And you need to remove the tag from the controller. Okay, so I plugged in the camera, and now this camera is plug and play, so you should be able to see it instantly. And this camera, webcam, I keep calling it a camera. It records up to 1080p, so I want to see what that looks like. Go to camera. And it did pick it up, so I'll remove the cover. And now you could see everything. So with this controller, I can move the camera. So if I wanted to show you my keyboard, I could zoom in. It zooms in a lot, actually. And I think the colors are like overexposed, but I don't think you could fix that. But I mean, it looks pretty good. You could see my computer. So if I try to zoom on that, it gets out of focus. And then you have a button that you click, and it could return a home. could invert the camera if you want to. So I have my piano over there. I could invert it. Or you could not show the camera at all. And you could turn it off. So these are cameras made for meetings. So if you have a meeting and you don't want to show your face for like a brief moment of something, you could just turn off the camera and turn it back on like that. I mean, it's pretty good. For meetings, I think this is fine. 'Cause you could show whatever you want. So you could be like showing something right here. Yeah, as you can see, it's like hard to see with this because it's a little bright. Oh, you can actually see it now. That's pretty good. Look at the zoom on that. So after messing with the camera, I figured out how to fix the issue with the contrast being too high. Downloading this app from Logitech that allows you to control um, like all the brightness and stuff. And here, let me zoom back out because I'm really zoomed in. And you have a lot of settings, but so I'll start with you could change your camera to widescreen, so you could see a lot more, and you could change it to 50 hertz, but I keep it at 60 hertz. But in advanced, here's where you could change like color intensity and brightness and things like that, and you could like move the camera through here and zoom it. You don't need the controller. So you here you can control brightness, make contrast, and the camera looks better with like light. Cause when it gets too dark, it looks really grainy, and it doesn't look as good. And I'm a little disappointed that it doesn't look good at night, cause for the price of this camera, I would expect it to look good at night. Things I really like about using it is the zoom. You could zoom in so far into things, and it's widescreen right now, but if you set it to standard, it'll zoom in a lot more. For example, let's say I want to read those letters on my mic interface. And look, you could read them. It says instrument gain 2 and output. Or another example would be sheet music on my piano. So let me zoom back in. You could read my sheet music from here. And I just thought that was like crazy that a camera could zoom in. Well, like this kind of camera could zoom in and still see that much. So that's really cool, and I really like the moving part of it because it's just like really fun to use. But like things I don't like about it is the quality. I have a Logitech camera that costs like almost 2 times as this camera, and they both look exactly the same. The newer models of the Logitech cameras look way better than this, and they're way cheaper, and that's like the only part that really bugs me, that like this camera was really expensive, but it doesn't look like that great compared to other newer models. If you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe, and stay safe.